I don't know. I'm just so urgent. Like, I don't know. Maybe because I've been through it so many different times, I know better than to slack off and try to behave like everything's all good. I was listening to a brief clip by Alex Hormozy, and he was just talking about how difficult entrepreneurship can be.
Oh, absolutely.
And it actually reminded me of a conversation that I recently had with one of our partners. I'll just put it that way.
Hmm.
Someone who's really close to me, and you know, been taking classes and taking certification courses and all this fun stuff to make themselves more profitable.
Okay.
And I asked him, give me an update, talk to me, what's going on. And he said that he was looking for a job within the IT, within the AI security space, which I think is exciting because, man, if there's going to be work to be had, it's going to be a lot of work there.
Hmm.
And my response to him was like, look, you can walk and chew gum at the same time. You've spent this money and this time acquiring these certifications here, which, I'm going to assume you're capable, you know what you're doing.
Hmm.
I was like, you have a product that you could be out there marketing, or I mean, if you want to go there, you can create a product, right?
Right.
Within a identity theft and security space. And I was like, well, why aren't you just doing both? While you're looking for a job, take a couple hours per day and prospect. Sharpen the saw, get better, get your sales skills up, get your networking, your ability to communicate, level those things up. And he was pretty much like, well, and I never thought about it, this, that, and the other. And I asked him a question. And the question I asked was, do you think you're lazy? And he says, no. And I said, well, let me ask you another question. I said, you have no children? He says, yeah. I said, you don't have a significant other or someone you're taking care of? He says, no. And I said, well, how many hours have you been spending looking for a job per day or working on it per day, right? He says about 4 hours. And I says, okay, 4 hours is a significant amount of time to look for a job. Now I know people who spend more time, but 4 hours, at least you're being consistent.
Hmm.
And I say, well, what are you doing with the other hours? And he gets really quiet. I say, well, how many of those hours are you spending working or at least, following up with some of the skills that you learned? He said maybe an hour or so. And exactly. So my next question was, how long do you think I've been up? What time do you think I got up today and started working?
Four.
And he says, I don't know. And I said, stop BSing me. You know what time it was. He said, you were probably up working at 5 a.m. I was like, when do you think I'm gonna stop? He,
Midnight.
he probably said, he was like, you're probably gonna stop around 10 o'clock. I was like, that's the goal. My goal is to stop at 10, hard stop. I don't always achieve it, but that's the goal. And I said, what do I have going on? He says, well, you have children, significant other, you got all these other things going on. And he's aware of some of the other businesses endeavors I'm involved in. He knows me. He's
Hmm.
close to me. And I asked him again, I was like, so you have no children, no encumbrances, it's just you. You and your PlayStation or phone or whatever it is that you do. That's what it is. And you put in 5 hours. And at the time when I was talking to him, I think it was about 6, 7 o'clock. So at that point, I'm 12 hours into the day, right? And I said, I want you to do the math on that. I said, let me ask you again, are you lazy? He says, well, in comparison to you, I am. And I said, no, you don't understand. See, there's the disconnect. I am the standard. It's not a comparison to me, it's a comparison to the standard. All the entrepreneurs I know, I don't care if they're earning 20,000 a year, 200,000 a year, if they're earning $2 million a year, even the entrepreneurs that I network with, have as clients that I chat with periodically are decamillionaires. We're all working at this pace right now because we see what's getting ready to happen with the economy, and we're all take an inventory about how AI is impacting the world around us. And when you're an entrepreneur, you're only as good as your last play. So your 3, 5 years previous to success that you enjoy mean absolutely nothing when the ground shifts underneath you like that, right? It's not to say that your skill stacks and your experience and talent stacks aren't important anymore and they're not valuable. But the bottom line is there are companies that were here 10 years ago that are gone today. They're gone. They've been wiped off the face of the earth, right? Um, we saw this happen in 2000. We saw this happen in 2008. We even saw it happen in 2020. I said, what do you think is going to happen over the next 3 to 5 years? If you are drinking your own Kool-Aid, you're going to be in trouble, right? And I told him, I said, no, I'm not, I'm the standard that you're competing against. Everybody who is serious about winning over the next decade are working and behaving like crazy people right now, right? Um, and I just said, be honest. When you take and when you consider that, are you lazy? He says yes. And I said, well, you know what they say, right? The first step to recovery is admitting you have an issue. I'm not going to talk about the conversation we had after that because it was pretty brutal what I said next, but
I already know. I
but
already know.
I was like,
But it's
dude,
all love, though. Sometimes your real friends tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
yeah,
I'm sure
yeah,
that the individual values the um the input and the constructive criticism and the jewels because that's what being a friend is giving somebody what they truly need, not just being a yes person and like, okay, yeah, everything you do is great. No, it's not. So
no.
he may have needed that and not even
Oh,
realized he needed it.
yeah, he acknowledged it.
Yeah.
He acknowledged it.
Well,
He didn't
especially
want
when
to,
after you guys were talking, he said, "Yeah, I am lazy." I mean, that was
yeah,
amazing, self-realization right there. Wasn't like he was still trying to beat around the bush and be like, "Well, no, I'm working at my own pace," or trying to make more excuses. He was just like, "Yeah, you're right, I am."
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, so that was beautiful. I mean, yes, I mean for him, you know what I mean? Like
hmm
he jumped off the porch and acknowledged, "I need to tighten up."
hmm Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's interesting.
Very.
So you wanted to talk about staying focused. Was that what it was? How do you stay focused? How you stay locked in?
Yep.
Is that what this is?
Staying locked in. What did I text you? Let me see. The importance
You.
of staying on schedule to keep up your momentum as a business owner and the tools that we use to stay on schedule.
I'm
So,
curious. What prompted this? Tell me more.
what prompted it is the fact that I, because of one of my businesses that I'm in, a lot of times, and you know this because you've experienced it because we worked on transactions together. I'll have on my schedule, I'll have, different things blocked out, have my schedule all set, and then bam, I might have a closing or something that's going on or some sort of emergency that arises that needs to be handled immediately or that only I can handle,
Mm,
then the rest of the schedule gets thrown off because I'm focused on putting out this fire or making sure this thing gets to the closing table or whatever the case may be. And a lot of times, especially with real estate and contracting, um, I have found, and I don't, you probably have too, that in a perfect world, everything aligns and is great, but that's really not reality. The reality is that, each transaction, each project is different, and you can get thrown off track easily, especially when you're dealing with, different personalities and different challenges. And it can definitely take a toll on your schedule and your momentum, and just your energy, period. You can be very drained from just dealing with, a situation that you're trying to keep moving in the right direction and you be like, man, damn, I'm fucking drained. I need a nap. This is like terrible. Or, I need another cup of coffee. You just like, you're trying to fight through it, but it can be challenging. It can be very, very, very challenging, like with a capital Very. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, that's what I kind of wanted to touch on is those challenges that we face.
Mm. Man, there's so many different directions I could go with this. I mean, it was funny. I was giving a talk um, earlier this week out in Ferndale, and one of the things I talked about was kissing your business, keeping it so simple,
Hmm.
right? Because there's a lot of different strategies and tools that you can use to address that challenge.
Yep.
I'm thinking about the habit that I have that has served me so well, particularly the last 5 years. And that's just simply waking up every single day and writing down the top three things that will move the ball forward. What are the top three things where if I did these three things every single day, um, I'd look up and my business will be healthier financially and more important, far as I'm concerned, will have scaled. And scaling involves also replacing myself, right? So, what are the top three things I can do to make that happen? And obviously, we all have 20 or 30 different tasks on our to-do list when we wake up in the morning, right? 'Cause we have all these agendas and, once all these menial tasks and then urgent, emergent, and emergency matters pop up. But even despite the emergency, I'm going to craft out time to get those top three things done, right? There are
Hmm.
three things I needed to get done today. I thought about those things last night. I wrote those things down. They're in my journal. When I woke up, I was laser focused on that, right? And then of course I have, ClickUps and I have my HubSpot CRM. Um, and it's the same thing. Like I have three things programmed right now that I must get done, that I must accomplish over the next 15, 16 days. And unless something's going on with my children or my loved ones and they're being burned alive inside of a home somewhere, I'm not going to be deflected from it. I've already dealt with like three emergencies already this morning.
Okay.
Three problematic, either people or problems that I was like, Dag, I got to address this. I mean, I literally need to set aside a moment. But the moment I did it, I raced right back to the top three things I need to get done. Right. Um, for me, that's the easiest way of going about it. And like I said, I have a lot of different strategies or devices that can be used to do that. But I think that's the most important thing every entrepreneur can do. I think oftentimes when you find yourself drifting as an entrepreneur or drifting period in life, it's because you don't have priorities. You don't have clear priorities. You don't have clear directives. You're just getting up and you're flying by the seat of your pants and you're doing the work. But there's work that, like you said, is urgent, paying a bill, putting out a fire, doing this, doing that. There's a lot of things you can do. There's a lot of effort you can expend that you can check off the list, but that all those things don't necessarily move your business forward,
Right.
right? You have to be laser focused on the handful of levers or leverage you can pull, the way I look at it, that can move the business forward. I know there are three things right now that I must get done over the next, which is ruining the end of my 90-day run. But over the next, what's today's date? Over the next 2.5, 3 weeks.
Hmm.
And regardless of what may come, I'm gonna be focused on those things. Right. Um, so I don't know. That's what I think about on top of my head about how to keep momentum. I have a couple other things too, but I'm curious to know what you want to.
I always have lists of things that I've written down to do,
Mm-hmm.
every day, all day. Um, but it just seems like more often than not, I'll be involved in a situation where I'm like, damn, this is taking a long time, or this thing is like never ending. Like I had a transaction that it took like almost a week to close. And it was just one thing after another.
Mm-hmm.
And trust me, it was not $1 million deal. It was
Mm-hmm.
not. It was not $1 million deal. It was it was run of the mill, but it
Mm-hmm.
was like so many different twists and turns, and it's closed, but there's still an issue with the transaction that I was just dealing with this morning, So it's like when those things occur, and some things, you just can't delegate out. You have to handle it hands on because it's just, would be a train wreck if you try to delegate it out to someone else.
Let me ask you a question. How early do you start your day?
I'm usually up by 6 every morning.
How early do you start your work day?
I usually start my workday right after my morning prayer call,
Mm-hmm.
which my morning prayer call is at 7:30 and it usually lasts till 8. But I am always doing stuff beforehand, checking emails, responding, looking at stuff, setting up, different things, confirming appointments, so on and so forth. So I would say that my workday probably starts at about 6:30.
Okay. How many hours per day do you set aside per day that is just your time to work on the things you want to work on, nothing else? The phone is off, or at least if it's not turned off, you're ignoring the notifications and the dings and everything else, where it might even be a situation where people can't even get on the phone with you.
Um, it depends on the day and what I have going on that day. Like when we're recording, I obviously
Hmm.
have my notifications and things turned off. But for the most part, um, very seldomly do I turn my phone off and have the notifications turned off. It's not a frequent thing that I do.
Hmm.
Is that something you do often?
Yeah. Yeah. I was
Same.
just having a conversation with another entrepreneur literally this morning, right? And she was telling me the same thing, right? She's in the medical field. She's trying to build a transportation company. She's delivering equipment, and then she has her gig, her job, all this
Hmm.
different stuff she has going on. Um, and she's getting work done. She's earning a lot of revenues. I mean, I can't knock the hustle. She's winning. But she told me, she was like, man, I'm not where I want to be. Like the calendar's moving, but I feel like my business is moving. Like it's earning income, but it's not growing the way it should.
Hmm.
And what I said to her is the common denominator of success, we all know is hard work. But hard work alone doesn't get it done, right? Because
Hmm.
if hard work was all that was required to be successful, people working at construction sites would be billionaires. That's hard ass work. Showing up in the cold, in the sun, lifting, you know,
90
doing
pound bales of shingles on your back.
the shit that, that's hard work. I mean, I could think of a lot of quote unquote what they call ugly jobs that the wear and tear and amount of effort you have to put out is like unbelievable. It will
Hmm.
break most people. Most people can't do it, but they're not billionaires, right? Um, for me, I had to think about this personally. As I evolved, intellect is not enough, right? And if you're an intelligent person, they say that's Satan's play shop, right? Because intelligent people, you think you're too smart. You start doing things you probably shouldn't do. You feel like you can get away with because you're smart. But if intellect was all that's required to be immensely successful, The professors would be billionaires, right? Um, for me, when I've studied those individuals whom I look up to, who are winning at a really high level, the one thing I've learned they all have in common is they have time where they sit down and they think about how to create leverage. And they don't spend 10 minutes doing it. They don't spend 30 minutes doing it. They spend an hour to 2 to 3 hours. Or they're doing work that creates the most leverage and they fight for that time savagely, right? So, of course, because I'm from the financial services industry, a lot of the individuals whom I looked up to are from that industry,
Oh,
or industries that there are verticals that are either congruent or relative, right? And that's the one thing I observe, and that's the thing that I do. Now, admittedly, I have not been able to get up to 3 hours yet, but I would attribute the fact that I am able to stay focused even when I'm running at a frenetic pace, even when my schedule is unreasonably busy, when the incoming is like a water hose, and I'm like, man, but that 2 hours a day, part of the reason why I get it, you're right. My eyes open at 4, but I get to work at 5, right?
okay.
My eyes open at 4, get to work at 5. And people ask me, why in the hell are you getting up so early? It's like, I have to have time to think about the things that matter most to me. I have to have time to work on the things I need to work on because at 7 o'clock, the world starts making demands of me, mainly the children.
Right.
And then after that, everybody else, right? But my daughter wakes up even without an alarm at 7 a.m. It's on and popping.
Gotta get
seven
that
days,
breakfast going.
7 days a week. Yeah, got to get the breakfast going and some other stuff. And of course, my partner helps with a lot of those things still.
Yeah,
I'm involved at that time of day because I want to give them, I'm working so much and my mind and attention are not there so much. I have to set aside time to give them that, right?
makes
So,
sense.
um, so yeah, fixing them breakfast is, the way I do that. But anyway, you get the point, right? And whenever I'm not setting aside that 2 hours, it becomes a shit show. It does.
Hmm.
It does. Because I wake up and I just work, 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 work. And because it's a habit. And but I don't make the progress that I want to make. Right.
You feel
And
like you're on the hamster wheel?
exactly.
That's how I feel a lot of times too, is where I'm just like, because I told you I monitor everything I do. Like those
Hmm.
apps I told you, like I use Time Doctor on myself. And I'll
Hmm.
look and I'll be like, damn, I was working for like 9 hours straight and I'm getting stuff done, but it just feels like you said, I took some notes on something you said about taking that time to create leverage.
Hmm.
Like if you're just on the hamster wheel and you're just doing tasks and you're just constantly doing, it's like, okay, that's great, but you need to be taking some of that time, like that 9 hours, take at least an hour out of that time and figure out how to create leverage with what you're doing. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. That's,
Yeah. The way I think about leverage, because we say that word and like in real life, how's that applicable, right? How do you create leverage? The way I think about it, it's like lifting a refrigerator.
hmm.
I'm strong enough to lift most refrigerators off the ground, but damn it, it's a lot easier if I have a dolly, right? Take that dolly, slide it underneath that refrigerator, lift it, becomes a lot easier to not only lift, but move that refrigerator, right? That's what I mean by leverage, right? Where are the areas in your life and your business where you can either build a dolly, buy a dolly, find a dolly to create that leverage so you can do more work with less effort? And then you also mentioned something else that I thought was interesting, like something that at least I've done over the last couple of years. And it was like, it was a rude awakening, right? I realized, man, I can't look, I just had to accept I cannot work the way I did in my 20s. So something I do is I will turn off my phone for 30 minutes at a time, 2 to 3 times a day. And I
Okay.
will either read a book or I will literally just sit and be quiet. That's what I'll do. I'll read something or I'll listen to something that is educational, but that is relaxing. I will just chill at least 2 times a day for about 30 minutes. Because what I found is that if I am at least reasonably rested and I'm not frenetic, um, I can get more done. A rested, non-frenetic Juan can get more done in 5 hours than it would take me 12 hours. Because I'm just sharper. Thoughts are clear, right? Um, Once again, thinking more critically about how to create leverage throughout my day, week, and month. Just doing those things alone, right, will give me what I need to be more productive during the day. And I started doing that. Like I'm working 3, 4 hours straight. Well, let me take 30 minutes just to close my eyes, read something, or just relax for a minute, and then get right back to it again. No, I'm sitting here now. Someone else just sent me a text. It's an emergency, a text. But I guarantee you that ain't gonna disrupt my 30 minutes. I'm gonna get my 30 minutes in before I respond to this,
Okay.
right? Um, Once again, everybody's different. I know I can't do that anymore. I can't run nonstop from 5 o'clock until 10, 12 o'clock. It ain't happening. So I take those breaks in between, right? And then once again, I'm my 2 hours first thing in the morning. I'm just everybody gets up, I'm working on something or I'm thinking about through something to help me create the leverage I need. And it also, once again, for me, it's a reset too, right? Yeah, doing that 30 minutes, sometimes I will sit and look at my goals. I will sit and look at my monthly objectives and my quarterly and my yearly, even my vision and my 5 and 10 year, right? I'll sit down and look at that. And some of my best ideals come from that. Um, I don't know, you call it whatever you want to call it, but some of the craziest and most like incredible things have manifested from me taking the time to do that. Like accounts that I've closed, referrals I've received, um, opportunities that presented themselves. When I sit and take those moments, man, good things always come shortly thereafter, right? Those are some of the things I do. Um, Also, once again, it's like I gave the sales management talk earlier this week, so I'm thinking a lot about the content that I shared with the people who are in the workshop. But one of the things I share with them is once again getting laser focused on effort versus work, right? What are your RGAs? Because you can't sacrifice your RGAs. You cannot. You won't have a business if you sacrifice your RGAs. So while you're putting out all these fires and urgent and this, that, and the other, okay, if you're doing those things and you don't do your RGAs, you're not going to have a business to be urgent about, right? So once again, I know this person is having a moment. I know whatever they just text me is very, very important. It's urgent to them. I know it is. But if I don't do, if after this podcast, if I don't spend an hour or two in my RGAs, I won't have a business to serve this person. You know
Makes
what I
sense.
mean? So, and I'm just savage about that. Um, this is an issue that only I can solve. No one else is gonna be able to solve this issue for this person. It's making me grind my teeth even thinking about it. Um, but even still, I got to get it in. There are two other things that must happen before I respond to this. So, um, it's funny. It's funny that we're even having this discussion because I was just had an exchange with,
Oh, okay.
that is the ongoing issue with him. That is ongoing. His
What,
life is nothing but putting out fires.
being too busy?
His life is nothing but putting out fires. It's nothing but urgent matters. It's nothing but,
Yeah.
you know, um, whether it's someone calling off, whether it's a deal that's going south, whether it's people with unreasonable expectations, whether it's this, that, and the other. That's his life. And I'm like, I'm
And it's a
looking,
high turnover business too.
yeah.
Um,
It
it really is. It's a very high turnover business because several of the companies, like the one that he has that I've dealt with, you'd be surprised at how they hop around to like different places, and there's always a story behind it. And most
I
of
know.
the time, behind the
Go ahead.
scenes is a shit show, to be
Mhm.
honest. It's total shit show.
I mean, I understand that and I accept that and I know that to be true.
Yeah.
But I also know of other organizations doing the same work where it's not as chaotic. It's not as chaotic. Like, this is a question I would love to be able to sit him down. There are three questions I want to ask him. And I want to ask his staff where he's not around, where they're not afraid of what comes out of their mouth.
Hmm.
The first question I would ask is, why does the business exist beyond earning dollars? Why does it exist beyond earning dollars? Like beyond earning a profit, why does this business exist? Really, what you here for? What's the impact? Why is
Hmm.
the work we're doing important?
Okay.
Because my experience has been, if the people around you can't answer that question, I'm not saying they're bad people, but I'm saying they're mercenaries. They're just there to collect a check. And when you're dealing with mercenaries, yes, that's exactly what mercenaries do. If they're just there to collect a check, they can collect a check anywhere. They're not loyal to you, they're mercenaries. So when I say that, it doesn't mean they're a bad person, but it just is what it is. And if your staff can't answer that question, they don't have any incentive to come early and stay late. There's no reason to do that. When stuff gets tough and things get tight and difficult, there's no incentive for them to stay and stick it through, right? They're like, oh, the ship is sinking. There's holes here. I'm about to go somewhere else. I'm not going to put forth the act. I'm not getting paid for that. I'm not about to plug them holes. I'm not about to lay my body on the grenade. No, F that. I'm about to move on to the next, right? But if a person is passionate about the mission, the vision, they're passionate about the work, they're more likely to stick it through, right? That's a question, and I guarantee you, well, I know this to be true because I've done this with business owners repeatedly over and over again. 9 times out of 10, when I hear there's a lot of turnover taking place, assuming the person is not an a-hole, that's the owner or whoever's managing stuff, it's because they're surrounded by mercenaries. The next question I would ask is I would ask, how are you systemically showing people what's good, rewarding people who meet the expectation, and putting things in place where the person realizes that by working at this job or occupation, I'm developing skills, talents, and experience that make me more and more valuable. So even if the person jumped ship, okay, they jumped ship, they took all that with them, but they're not going to speak ill of you, and they're going to have a warm, fuzzy feeling about their experience with you, or because you provided those things, they've become more valuable, more able, more capable. You've shown them what's good, you rewarded them for it. They know that if they know as the tide rises, they're going to benefit from that. And once again, 9 times out of 10, if I'm chatting with someone and they're having high turnover in their business, these are the questions I ask. They may not
Hmm.
even realize I'm asking those questions. And I'm like, where's the reward? Where's the reward? Right? I think about this in our organization all the time. What I think about is what can I do to make the ground more fertile? That's probably the number one thing I think about other than anything else. Part of what I'm working on today is that, right? A tool that I think is going to make the ground more fertile. It's the
Ask
reason why,
that too. You ask that too often. You'll be like,
yeah,
what can I do to help you be more successful, to help you streamline, to help you? Like, that's always a question that you constantly ask.
yeah. Because I'm thinking systemically, what can I do? Because I can't put my hands on everyone all the time. But systemically, what can I plant in the soil where people can get what they need from the soil to grow stronger? And 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 that becomes that's almost like 2.5 or 3, right? The next question I'm gonna ask is, you know, because in order for me to do that, I have to know what your goals are, even outside of work. Like, what are your goals for your family? What's your goals personally? What kind of person are you trying to become? Right? There's
Goals
two
have
people.
to be specific too. They have to
Yeah,
be specific and defined. Yeah.
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 And you can't have that conversation all day, every day, but you should be kind of aware of what people need. And if I can make the ground more fertile for that, even if you're not earning everything you need to earn, but that part is well, I shouldn't say need. Even if you're not earning what you want to earn in that moment, if I'm putting things in place where you can see a connection between this person's providing these things, it's going to allow me to earn what I want to earn. But more importantly, it's going to allow me to become the person I need to be to meet all of my needs and wants, right? I guarantee you, if I were to separate him from his staff and ask them these questions regarding these things, the answers will be totally different. Guarantee it. I guarantee it. Because I know it when I see it. And I can listen. When you have that kind of chaos taking place, that's what's going on.
Right.
The last question I would ask um, is what are you doing to number one, keep people motivated? Number two, because I kind of see this as one of the same, make sure personal development is taking place. I will admit I'm dropping the ball most frequently in that area. I do an okay job, but I'm really dropping the ball there. Right? We have book in a month, but we should be having conversations about those books. We should be having conversations about personal development. How do you become the person that people want to follow? How do you, when the BS.com stress and conflict and issues show up in life, how do you what frameworks do you use to control and manage those things, right? So they don't overwhelm you. You don't become inundated with those things, right? What kind of things do we need to do to build your endurance? So when stuff gets tough, you have the endurance to overcome, right? I don't do a good enough job of that. I know that because since it's not a deficit of mine, I oftentimes don't think about it enough. But the bottom line is people need that. Like I'm on Facebook and I don't even I have like literally no contacts now on Facebook. But
Really?
yeah, because remember I lost my account.
I mean, yeah, but I thought that you said that they had like made you whole again.
No, I'm
Oh,
working
what's
on
your
that, but it
money?
hasn't happened yet. No,
What?
with the money, but not with my actual account.
So your account's just poof,
Gone.
it's
Poof.
gone?
Thousands of people. Poof. Thousands of
Ah,
conversations.
oh,
Yeah.
wow.
All my content.
See, I thought that when you
No.
said they were making you whole again, that they were working behind the scenes to like,
No.
oh wow.
It's not done yet, but I mean, I've accepted the fact that it's gone.
I mean, yeah, you're not crying over
Yeah.
spilled milk. You just
Yeah.
moved on and kept it
Yeah.
pushing. Still.
But still, I'm on there, and
Yeah.
they'll send you people's content.
Hmm.
If you're friends with them, you see it frequently, but they'll still, even if you're not friends with someone, you'll see stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at people complaining about their lives or arguing with people or getting into conflict with people and sharing too much about what's going on. It's like, no, stop it. Like nobody wants to partner with a shit show, whether it's your fault or not. If your life is a shit show, nobody serious wants to partner with that, right? Um, I have not spent enough time saying, "Come over here, let me talk to you about that right quick." Like we got to stop that, you know. Let's find another avenue or another way for you to get that off your chest. But that's not the arena to do it. You know
Correct.
what I mean? You already know because you and I worked so closely together and had so many conversations. You know, there are many a day where I'm walking around like a volcano. But I still get up, execute, and you're not going to hear negativity and BS.com and trauma and all that BS coming out my mouth, right? You're just not going to hear it. Like my life could be going to hell in a handbasket. I'm still gonna get up, smile, and execute, right? We need to start that skilled trade, right?
Much so. It
Yeah.
and it's a requirement for this type of space that we're operating in.
Well, not just this space, but any type of space.
I mean, any type of space, but specifically this one, because
Yeah.
your energy level and your outlook on things, because like you say,
Mhm.
we're inundated with negativity day in, day out, even inside
Mhm.
your head.
Yeah.
So, garbage in equals garbage out, and you have to definitely be able to um quickly pivot. You have to be able to deflect.
Hmm.
When people are bringing that kind of stuff to you, or even if something is going in a downward spiral professionally that you're
Hmm.
working on, you're like, okay, hold on a minute, let me regroup, let me, you know,
Yeah.
pull
But
myself out of this to
yeah.
compartmentalize what's going on here and not take it personal.
Yeah. And I guarantee you that's not taking place in that organization. I'm not saying that industry is not chaotic. I'm saying the chaos could be better managed. Like if these conversations were taking place in that organization, let's say the attrition rate decreases by 50%.
Hmm.
Well, hell, 50% of your employees are showing to work more frequently than they were before. That makes a difference. You know, if they're growing and they're willing to, like I said, throw their bodies on a grenade and plug the holes and help the ship, they see their success and their livelihoods and their ability to become more connected to it, right? That's going to create a different type of environment. They're going to be more reliable and they're going to be more willing to spend the extra time, right? If they're having conversations that are helping to personally develop them so they become more whole and more effective, not just in their business lives, but their personal lives, that makes them more valuable in your company. That makes them more valuable in your space. And if they do leave, unfortunately, because that is going to happen inevitably, they're going to go out and they're still going to speak favorably of you.
Hmm.
Like a lot of entrepreneurs aren't thinking critically about how not only do you need to take care of your clients, not only do you need to take care of the bottom line, but you got to make sure the people around you are happy because the people around you are happy. 9 times out of 10, they're going to be the ones who recruit the future talent. Your future talent is going to come from your clients, and your future talent is going to come from the people you work with.
I
That's where
agree.
your talent is going to come from. That's the people you need to attract. That's where it's going to come from. Because as an entrepreneur or business owner, 9 times out of 10, you don't have time to go out and do the heavy recruiting yourself. So you have to send surrogates out into the marketplace to do it. Now, how do you create those surrogates? Right? Is by doing the things we just talked about. So the reason why that particular business owner has all that chaos taking place in their business is because they're not doing those things. So I'm not saying like entrepreneurship isn't difficult and there's not BS.com and it's so much that goes on that we can't control, but at least control the controllables.
Right.
He's not doing that. And that's why you have so much chaos.
And also too within that industry, because I've closed probably close to, I don't know, 200 transactions now, but like
Mhm.
part of it too is lack of standard operating procedures,
Yes.
lack of
Mhm.
training, and lack of taking your staff's feedback seriously and allowing them to help you to tweak the trainings and the standard operating procedures. Because a lot of times, like, let's say you and I had a business like that business we're talking about. Those people who are on the front lines who are dealing with the
Mhm.
those are the people who know specifically what the clients need and what things are lacking and what things we need to tighten up on. And if you're a business owner and you're not listening and applying that feedback and saying, well, what do you think we need to do? Like, take
Hmm.
yourself out of the equation and let your staff and your team like have a discussion. Well, okay, we're weak in this area. What do you guys think? Let's brainstorm. Let's write down some ideas. Let's come up with some things. And I'll even say to my staff, like, even if it's something that you did in another business that
Hmm.
has nothing to do with this kind of business, I still am very, very open-minded to hearing different ideas about whatever it was, however you guys did it, whether it was a standard operating procedure or something that you did to
Hmm.
increase productivity or something that you did within that business that made things run smoother, I'm still open to hearing the idea because we can eat the fruit and spit out the seed and apply what we think is going to work here and what isn't going to work. You know what I mean? We can, by trial and error, you can do that in any business, you know.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of times those conversations are not being had. Like people are
Well,
always, quick to dismiss and not try those different things. And that's why the chaos just keeps building and building and building. And it's, because people will leave an environment where they feel like they're not valued and respected. Like if they're
this is true.
constantly giving you feedback and they're constantly saying, because I know not specific to that person's business, but other people who are in that business
Hmm.
have bounced around from business to business. And I'll be like, well, why did you leave there? Or why, because I follow them where they go because that's my people. And they'll say things like, oh, there was a lot of chaos behind the scenes. We weren't being taken serious. There was a lot of issues with outsourcing, things like that. And so, people get burnt out and they just, feel like, okay, well, bump it. I'm off to the
Yeah.
next. Like you said, they're mercenary.
Well,
They're there for the check. And if they don't feel like they're being um, valued and their feedback isn't valued, then they're on to the next one. And it's
yeah.
understandable. Anybody would feel that
I
way.
mean, our Monday meetings, guess what those meetings really are?
The accountability meetings,
Yeah, guess what that meeting really is for? I gave it that title, but what does
the
that mean?
team, it's for the team.
It's an IDS meeting.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
yeah,
I know people don't realize that's what they're participating in, but that's what they're really participating in. It's an IDS meeting,
yeah.
right?
I get
What's our KPIs, our activity? What's going good? We do a quick training,
wins.
and then yep, that's what it is, the IDS meeting. And
Yeah.
then you get a chance to hear people's gripes or challenges or issues or things that aren't working for them,
Hmm.
right?
And you can ask questions.
That's all Monday is. It's really an IDS meeting dressed up as an accountability and training call,
Hmm.
right? If we were working in that type of business together, you got to know we'd have a weekly IDS meeting.
You have to.
Yeah.
You
And
got too many files to not have an IDS meeting.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I know IDS meetings are not always taking place in businesses like that.
Well, you know that they're definitely not taking place in
Yeah.
that business because it's too much going on, like too much busy work and ooh, ooh, it's
Yeah.
like a conveyor belt, a hamster wheel. Like there is no time for an IDS meeting, but you have to
Man,
make,
look,
yeah.
man, if I really don't let me be able to wrap my mind around that business.
Well, you
Don't
that you
let it happen.
could,
The
and
moment,
because we're already involved in that business. And I've
yeah,
actually done like a couple transactions where I stepped into that role because like the
yeah,
people wasn't acting right. And I'm like, oh, hold on a minute, I'm about to pull up on you. We got to get this done. We're
yeah,
not fooling around. We need these checks. Um,
yeah.
so yeah, I mean, it's definitely
I
there's a lot
mean,
of parts to it.
man, there's so many systems I would install immediately that I don't see people using.
I
There's
agree.
so many systems I would install that would probably easily save 30% of the time spent on closing a deal. And a lot of the conflicts and issues that come up
Mhm.
with the staff. Like I'm not doing it because I'm not excited about that kind of work. I like to stay in my lane. But if for some reason I woke up one day and I decided I wanted to run my own title company, oh man, it will be wholesale changes being made. And AI would be, that would be it. That would be it. Like 30% of the stuff, 40% of the stuff that they do. No, you know what? 50% of the work being done, not just in that type of company, but any company,
Hmm.
it's just everyday redundancies. Just
I
everyday redundancy. It doesn't
agree.
require judgment.
Yeah.
It just
Because you're
requires
using
just
the
getting,
same documents, it's the same,
yeah.
process over and over and over again. And that's sometimes what I'll say to my staff, like, sweetie, we're not reinventing the wheel. Don't make this more challenging and difficult than it is. It's not that complicated. It's the same documents over and over again. The top of the page explains what the document is. Read the document so you understand what it is, and that way you're able to better function in the system.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, and then everything we're talking about, you have to do that for yourself.
Yes.
You have to do it for yourself. That's the other way in which you keep momentum in your business is taking the time to do that for yourself. And it's hard because when you have a job or you have an organization that you work for that you're being accountable to, they're doing that for you. So you don't have to.
Right.
But the moment you step into entrepreneurship, you have to do that for yourself. Um, and of course, if you're not a decamillionaire yet in your business, no one's going to listen to you, at least not highly compensated people who are already successful. No one's
Right.
going to listen to you unless they see you doing it yourself. They're just not. Um,
Makes sense.
yeah.